Welcome back to ABCGH Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the intriguing developments unfolding in Port Charles, where secrets, betrayals, and unexpected twists are set to keep viewers on the edge of their seats. In the shadowy underworld of Port Charles, Sonny Corinthos and Jason Morgan find themselves at a crossroads. Their carefully laid plans have hit an unexpected snag, but the indomitable mob boss isn't ready to throw in the towel just yet. With his trademark determination, Sonny assures his loyal right-hand man that there's still hope to uncover the truth they seek. As they navigate the treacherous waters of the criminal underworld, Sonny and Jason must stay one step ahead of their enemies. Could there be a mole in their organization, feeding false information to lead them astray? Or perhaps a rival faction is orchestrating an elaborate scheme to keep them off balance? The stakes are higher than ever as they pursue their elusive quarry. Every lead, every whisper, and every shadow could hold the key to unlocking the mystery that has consumed them. As they inch closer to their goal, the tension mounts and the danger escalates. Will their relentless pursuit of answers lead them to victory or to their downfall? Anna's Dilemma. Meanwhile, the ever-vigilant Anna Devane finds herself caught in a web of intrigue that threatens to unravel her carefully constructed world. As she receives troubling news from Max Scorpio, Anna's instincts kick into high gear. What could be so significant that Mac believes it will change Anna's perspective entirely? The plot thickens as Emma Drake, Anna's beloved granddaughter, becomes entangled in this mysterious situation. Emma's reaction of complete disbelief to an unknown revelation adds another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama. Could this be related to Emma's past, or is it a harbinger of future troubles? As Anna navigates this precarious situation, she must draw upon all her years of experience as a spy and investigator. The stakes are personal this time, and Anna will stop at nothing to protect her family and uncover the truth, no matter how painful it may be. In a quieter corner of Port Charles, a touching scene unfolds as Kai Taylor opens up to Trina Robinson. This moment of vulnerability between the two young characters hints at a deepening bond. What secrets could Kai be harboring, and why has he chosen Trina as his confidant? As their relationship evolves, viewers are left to wonder about the implications of this growing closeness. Could this be the beginning of a new romance, or is there something more complex at play? The dynamics between these two characters promise to add a fresh perspective to the ongoing drama in Port Charles. Emma Drake, caught in the crossfire of adult conflicts, finds solace in a heart-to-heart conversation with her grandmother, Anna Devane. This poignant moment between generations highlights the emotional depth of the show, reminding viewers of the importance of family bonds amidst the chaos of Port Charles. As Emma navigates the challenges of growing up in a town rife with secrets and danger, her journey serves as a reflection of the innocence that persists even in the darkest of times. What wisdom will Anna impart to her granddaughter, and how will Emma's experiences shape her future? In a shocking turn of events, Drew Kane finds himself grappling with the bitter taste of betrayal. The normally level-headed businessman is pushed to his limits, issuing a stern ultimatum over the phone. His uncharacteristic behavior raises questions about the nature of this betrayal and its potential repercussions. As Drew demands action regardless of the methods employed, viewers are left to speculate about the severity of the situation. Could this be related to his business dealings, or is there a more personal element at play? The intensity of Drew's reaction suggests that the stakes are higher than ever before. Molly's ethical dilemma. Assistant District Attorney Molly Lansing Davis finds herself in an increasingly complex situation as news of a tragic car crash reaches her ears. Her relaxed demeanor at the bar with Cody Bell quickly dissipates as the gravity of the situation becomes apparent. As details of the crash emerge, Molly is thrust into a professional and personal quandary. With her father, Rick Lansing, potentially involved in the incident, Molly must navigate the treacherous waters between her duty as a prosecutor and her loyalty as a daughter. How will she balance these conflicting responsibilities, and what consequences will her choices have for both her career and her family? A wave of shock ripples through Port Charles as the consequences of Christina Corinthos Davis's misguided actions come to light. What began as a targeted act of vengeance against Ava Jerome has spiraled into a tragedy of unforeseen proportions. The tampering of brakes intended for Ava's car has instead endangered the lives of Rick Lansing and Elizabeth Liz Baldwin. As the dust settles from the crash, the full extent of the damage becomes apparent. The once quiet streets of Port Charles are now filled with the sounds of sirens and the frantic efforts of first responders. The community holds its collective breath, waiting to learn the fate of those involved in this horrific accident. Lucky's desperate plea. Amidst the chaos, Lucky Spencer emerges as a beacon of raw emotion and determination. His impassioned cries to the emergency personnel underscore the urgency of the situation as he pleads for them to do everything in their power to save her. Presumably Liz, the weight of potential loss hangs heavy in the air. Lucky's presence at the scene raises questions about his own involvement and knowledge of the events leading up to the crash. Could his quick thinking and decisive action be the key to saving lives, or will he be forced to confront the possibility of losing someone dear to him? As news of the crash spreads through Port Charles, its impact is felt far and wide. From the hospital corridors to the dimly lit corners of local establishments, characters grapple with the implications of this tragic event. Hospital drama unfolds. The General Hospital staff springs into action, preparing for the influx of crash victims. Doctors, nurses, and specialists work tirelessly to save lives and mitigate the damage caused by this unforeseen disaster. The halls buzz with tension as loved ones anxiously await news of the injured. In these moments of crisis, unexpected alliances may form, and long-standing rivalries might be set aside for the greater good. How will this shared trauma reshape the dynamics of Port Charles' medical community? Legal ramifications. As the dust settles, attention turns to the legal implications of the crash. With Assistant DA Molly Lansing Davis potentially conflicted due to her father's involvement, who will take the lead in investigating this incident, the search for justice promises to uncover long-buried secrets and test the limits of loyalty in Port Charles, a town forever changed. As the sun sets on this tumultuous day in Port Charles, the residents are left to ponder the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of fate. The events of this single day will undoubtedly have far-reaching consequences, altering relationships, challenging alliances, and setting the stage for future conflicts. From the highest echelons of power to the everyday lives of Port Charles citizens, no one will emerge unscathed from this tragedy. As the town rallies together in the face of adversity, viewers are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of community. In the days to come, Port Charles will face the daunting task of healing, seeking justice, and moving forward. But for now, as night falls on this fateful day, the town holds its breath, waiting to see what tomorrow will bring in this ever-evolving saga of love, loss, and redemption. Next, we will learn about the intricate web of manipulation and power plays unfolding in Port Charles, where past sins and present secrets are colliding in spectacular fashion. The puppet master emerges. The once confident doctor, Portia Robinson, now finds herself ensnared in a dangerous game of cat and mouse, with her fate hanging precariously in the balance. What initially appeared to be a straightforward blackmail situation with Drew Quartermaine has evolved into something far more sinister and complex. Behind the curtain, pulling strings with masterful precision, stands none other than the notorious Rick Lansing. As the dust settles on recent developments, a chilling realization dawns on Port Charles observers. Rick Lansing has positioned himself as the ultimate puppet master. While Portia believes she's dancing to Drew's tune, it's actually Rick orchestrating every move from the shadows. This revelation sends shockwaves through the community as the implications of Rick's newfound influence ripple outward. The power dynamics at play here are absolutely fascinating, notes one longtime Port Charles insider. Portia thinks she's answering to Drew, but in reality, she's become a pawn in Rick's elaborate chess game. Drew himself might not even realize he's being manipulated. The question on everyone's lips now becomes, what is Rick's endgame? With his fingers firmly wrapped around the strings controlling both Portia and, by extension, Drew, his potential for causing chaos is virtually limitless. Of particular concern is his growing proximity to Elizabeth Baldwin, a woman who should know better than to trust him given their troubled history. Once Rick fully comprehends the extent of his influence over Elizabeth through this complex web of manipulation, there's no telling what he might do, warns a source close to the situation. History has shown us that when Rick Lansing gains leverage, devastation inevitably follows. A legal facade crumbling. When Portia, desperate and out of options, followed Ava Jerome's seemingly helpful suggestion to seek legal counsel from Rick Lansing, she unknowingly walked straight into the lion's den. Presenting himself as the consummate professional attorney, Rick offered no glimmer of hope regarding her predicament with Drew's blackmail. During their consultation, Rick's expression remained impassive as he delivered the crushing news. "I'm afraid Drew holds all the cards here, Dr. Robinson. Legally speaking, your options are extremely limited." His voice carried the perfect blend of professional detachment and feigned sympathy, masking the calculating mind working behind his concerned facade. What Portia failed to recognize in that pivotal moment was the predatory gleam in Rick's eyes as he assessed her vulnerability. With each detail she divulged about her secret, the paternity deception that could destroy her relationship with Curtis Ashford and potentially end her medical career, Rick was mentally cataloging leverage, not solutions. To preserve both your relationship and your professional standing, compliance with Drew's demands may be your only viable path forward, Rick advised solemnly, while inwardly recognizing the perfect opportunity to insert himself into yet another web of Port Charles deception. The consultation concluded with Portia feeling even more trapped than before, while Rick had gained valuable intelligence on the complex dynamics between Portia, Curtis, Drew, and by extension, the entire Ashford family. Information is power in Port Charles, and Rick had just acquired a treasure trove. The moral compromise. Under the crushing weight of Drew's blackmail orchestrated from the shadows by Rick, Portia now finds herself making choices that contradict everything she claims to stand for. The respected doctor and loving partner has been reduced to betraying the man she loves in order to protect her long-buried secret. The irony is palpable as Portia, who once prided herself on her integrity, now moves through Port Charles like a ghost of her former self. Each morning brings a new compromise, another small betrayal of Curtis that chips away at the foundation of their relationship. The man she fought so hard to build a life with remains blissfully unaware of her duplicity, making her actions all the more heartbreaking. "I'm doing this to protect us," Portia whispers to herself in moments of doubt, the justification sounding hollower each time she repeats it. But is she protecting their relationship or merely postponing its inevitable implosion? From his vantage point, Rick observes with fascination the lengths to which Portia will go to maintain her deception. Her willingness to compromise herself provides him with valuable insights into human nature, insights he can weaponize in his own machinations. Each time Portia chooses secrecy over honesty, she unwittingly strengthens Rick's position in this elaborate power play. "People will surprise you with what they're willing to do when backed into a corner," Rick remarked cryptically to an associate at the Metro Court bar. "Sometimes the most principled among us make the most interesting subjects when pressure is applied correctly." The ethics of exploitation. Some might argue that Rick's hands are tied by attorney-client privilege, that professional ethics would prevent him from exploiting Portia's vulnerable position. Those people clearly haven't been paying attention to Rick Lansing's history in Port Charles. When has Rick Lansing ever allowed something as trivial as professional ethics to interfere with his schemes? The man has demonstrated time and again that rules are merely suggestions to be discarded when inconvenient. His law license has always been a tool, a means to an end rather than a sacred trust. Attorney-client privilege is a fascinating concept. Rick once mused to Alexis Davis during a chance encounter at the courthouse. "It's designed to protect the vulnerable, but in the wrong hands, it can become the perfect cover for gathering intelligence." Alexis had walked away from that conversation with a chill running down her spine, recognizing the thinly veiled threat in his philosophical musings. For Rick, Portia's legal consultation wasn't about providing counsel, it was about reconnaissance. Every detail she shared, every vulnerability she exposed, became ammunition in his arsenal. The privilege that should protect her has instead become the very thing that endangers her, a shield behind which Rick can operate with impunity. As one former associate of Rick's noted, he doesn't break rules so much as he bends them until they're unrecognizable. By the time anyone realizes what he's done, the damage is already irreparable. The villain in plain sight. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this unfolding drama is how Rick Lansing now walks the streets of Port Charles as if his past sins have been washed clean. The man responsible for some of the most heinous acts in the town's history presents himself as reformed, rehabilitated, and worthy of trust. 22 years have passed since Rick Lansing committed one of his most notorious crimes, abducting a pregnant Carly Spencer and imprisoning her in a panic room hidden within the walls of his home. This wasn't just any panic room, it was a specially constructed prison designed for the specific purpose of holding Carly captive while he carried out his twisted plan. The technical term panic room is somewhat misleading in this context. Typically designed as a safe haven within a home where residents can retreat during emergencies, Rick perverted this concept into something sinister. He transformed what should have been a sanctuary into a prison, complete with restraints that kept Carly chained to the wall like an animal. What makes this crime particularly abhorrent was Carly's condition. Heavily pregnant with Morgan Corinthos, she endured psychological torture and physical discomfort that endangered both her life and that of her unborn child. All while Elizabeth, oblivious to the horror taking place within her own home, went about her daily life just feet away from where Carly was imprisoned. The psychological architecture of that crime reveals a mind capable of compartmentalizing to a disturbing degree, explains renowned criminal psychologist Dr. Mariah Winters. To maintain a loving relationship with Elizabeth while simultaneously keeping a pregnant woman captive in the same house suggests a level of cognitive dissonance that should concern anyone who encounters this individual. A town with a short memory. Perhaps the most baffling aspect of Rick's current position in Port Charles society is the collective amnesia that seems to have afflicted its residents. Elizabeth Baldwin, who once discovered the horrifying truth about the man she loved when she accidentally triggered the panic room's hidden mechanism, now willingly accompanies him on solitary walks through deserted areas of town. One particularly troubling recent sighting placed Elizabeth and Rick alone on the Harborview Bridge at dusk, with only Alexis Davis as a distant witness. The symbolism couldn't be more stark, Elizabeth standing on the precipice with the very man who once betrayed her trust in the most fundamental way possible. There's something almost hypnotic about Rick's ability to make people forget his past, observes longtime Port Charles resident Bobby Spencer. It's as if he emits some kind of pheromone that short-circuits the memory centers in people's brains. Even more astonishing is Carly's apparent indifference to Rick's presence in town. The woman who once clawed at the walls of her prison, who feared for her unborn child's life at Rick's hands, now passes him in the Metro Court lobby with barely a flicker of recognition. Has time truly healed these wounds, or is Port Charles suffering from a dangerous case of selective memory? Trauma responses can manifest in unexpected ways, notes Dr. Kevin Collins. Sometimes the mind protects itself by compartmentalizing painful memories, especially when confronted with the source of that trauma in a normalized context. The enigma of audience perception. What makes Rick Lansing such a compelling figure in the Port Charles landscape is the complex relationship viewers have with his character. Unlike traditional villains who inspire straightforward hatred or anti-heroes who earn reluctant admiration, Rick occupies a unique space in the audience's collective psyche. Does any segment of viewers actually find Rick Lansing likable? Would anyone cheer for him in a confrontation or feel genuine sympathy if tragedy befell him? The evidence suggests not. Yet paradoxically, he remains one of the most captivating characters to grace the screen. This contradiction speaks to the sophisticated nature of modern viewership. Audiences don't necessarily need to like a character to be invested in their storyline. Rick's appeal lies not in his moral character, but in his unpredictability, his complexity, and yes, his subtle creepiness that sends shivers down the spine. Rick Lansing represents a psychological case study in charismatic malevolence, explains media psychologist Dr. Jennifer Harlow. Viewers are drawn to him not despite his villainous qualities, but because of them. He allows us to explore the darker aspects of human nature from a safe distance. In many ways, Rick functions as a mirror reflecting the shadow self that exists within all of us. The capacity for deception, manipulation, and self-justification that most people keep carefully suppressed. His actions may repulse us, but his motivations fascinate us because they touch on universal human drives taken to extreme conclusions. The dilemma deepens. As we return to Portia's current predicament, the full scope of her danger becomes apparent. She believed Drew Quartermaine was her primary problem, the immediate threat to her carefully constructed life with Curtis. How wrong she was. Drew, for all his resources and determination, operates within a certain moral framework. His blackmail has limits, boundaries he won't cross. Rick Lansing recognizes no such constraints. Where Drew might be satisfied with compliance, Rick sees opportunities for escalation. The latest spoilers and previews reveal that Portia continues to struggle with her hidden truth, unaware that the power dynamic has shifted dramatically. While she focuses on appeasing Drew, the real threat grows stronger in her blind spot. Portia's like someone worried about a thunderstorm while a hurricane forms on the horizon, observes one insider. By the time she realizes Rick is the true threat, it may be too late to prepare for the devastation he can cause. For viewers watching this slow-motion disaster unfold, the question becomes not if Portia's carefully constructed life will implode, but when and how completely. Will Curtis discover her deception through Drew's machinations, or will Rick Lansing engineer an even more spectacular revelation for his own purposes? One thing is certain, in Port Charles, secrets never stay buried forever, and when they surface, the damage extends far beyond the original secret keeper. As Portia's dilemma deepens, the collateral damage threatens to engulf everyone in her orbit, especially those she sought to protect through her deception. Welcome to Port Charles, where today's solution becomes tomorrow's catastrophe, and where villains like Rick Lansing remind us that sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones hiding in plain sight, wearing suits, and offering legal advice with a smile that never quite reaches their eyes.